Okay, so for the got privilege activity, the first question is, were you able to find all the items on the shopping list? And no, I was not able to physically find all the items on the shopping list. Which items did you find? So I was able to find all of them except the Band-Aids. For the Band-Aids, I actually had to go up to a pharmacist and ask her about them. It took numerous pharmacists to actually find out that they sold those types of Band-Aids, let alone they weren't available. I would have to buy them in bulk, so I wasn't able to purchase that item at that time if I really needed to. How many stores did you have to go to find them? So I had to go to 3 different stores. The first store I went to was my local Walmart, and then I headed to CVS after that, and then I had to go to Barnes & Noble's to find the children's book. The next question, if you found items from the shopping list, how did they compare in price? Also the following question, if you found the items on the shopping list, how many different companies or manufacturers had those items? So I'm going to answer that question together. So the bandages, they were more expensive because I did have to order them in bulk. And compared to a small box of normal Band-Aids, the normal cost of a Band-Aids that I found were around $2.50, and that was for the Band-Aids that had the clear strips or the kid Band-Aids that have the little characters on it. Since I couldn't find the Band-Aids at the pharmacy, I actually looked online, and to buy a box of the company, it's called Urban Armor, that's the Band-Aids, that would have been $12. Next was the stockings. The stockings were actually the same price, and they were located right next to the white stockings, the nude stockings, and then there was the black stockings. So I did this project before we had the discussion in class about what is nude, and that made me wonder if the black stockings, are they being put out there for the African American person, or are they there for the white person who wants to wear black stockings? It kind of just was something that I thought of afterwards. So they were still about $5, and it was the same price for no matter what, white, nude, black, no matter what color you were getting. There was numerous stockings. The Legs company was a popular one that I saw. So there was a large option, but again, that made me think, was there a large option because they were advertising for the white person who wants to wear black stockings? I just wasn't sure what the company was actually thinking. The next one was the makeup. So these prices were the same. They were all in the makeup aisle, and they were just ordered in light to dark. So the cover-up or makeup for the white person was in the same row as for a darker skin color. So they didn't separate it in 2 aisles. It was all together. It was about the same. It was like $8 to $10 for a bottle of cover-up. So there were a large variety, like Revlon, Neutrogena had a large variety. Maybelline had a small selection, but not a large selection. And I couldn't find CoverGirl makeup for the African American person. I did go online though, because I knew there was a company that specifically made cover-up for the African American person, and it was actually turned out to be CoverGirl. They have a Queen collection, and I'm pretty sure inspired by Queen Latifah, and that is specifically made for the African American skin. I knew it was out there. I just couldn't find it when I entered Walmart. They did have it at CVS though. CVS had a larger variety of makeup as well. So the next one was the children's book. So the children's book, I couldn't find it at Walmart or CVS, so I had to go to Barnes & Noble's. And these books cost on average the same as any other chapter book or picture book that I was going to get. It ranged from like $6 to $10, so price wasn't different. I also had to search for the book rather than it being laid out in the front, explaining that it was like promoting or emphasizing on the African American person. So that was something while I was at the store, I actually Googled children's book to help like African American young girl gain a better sense of who she is. And the two books that I found were Brown Girl Dreaming and One Crazy Summer, and they were available. The next item was a doll. These dolls were priced exactly the same as the doll next to it, depending on skin color. There was a large variety. They had like toddler Tiana, a normal Tiana doll, and my first Tiana doll. But again, this is the only princess that's African American. So there was Cinderella, Snow White, or like the more updated white princesses, and then there was just Tiana. So if an African American young girl wants to go in and buy a doll, she has to kind of like the character Tiana because that's all that was available for her. Moving away from princesses, they did have black Barbie dolls. They had a black little baby if they wanted to buy that. There was also a black Ken, which I thought was interesting. So prices didn't vary depending on the skin color. Also, Dr. McStuffins, which I think is a new Disney show, and she's a little African American character that's a doctor. I think she like works with either vets or animals, but she was all over the place. That was one of the items that I found was actually in the front of the aisle, compared to me having to search for it. But she was very popular. But again, that like her and Tiana were the only large African American dolls that their name was famous or more well known. The next one was the fashion magazine. The two fashion magazines that I actually found were just $1 cheaper than like Glamour magazine or a magazine directed towards the white female. So the African American Beauty magazine was $7, where the magazine directed towards the white person was $8. There was not a large selection whatsoever. It was just these two magazines compared to the shelf had to contain over 50, and these were the only two directed towards beauty tips for African American ladies. And they were Sophisticate's Black Hair, Style and Care, and Shen, I believe. And unlike the white directed magazines, these two magazines, the two models on the front, I had no idea who they were. Compared to the white magazine, I could pinpoint, oh, I know that model, I know that actress, where it was different for the African American. Next was the romance novel. The romance novel cost the same as any other romance novel. It was $5 to $6. They actually had a whole shelf at Walmart. So they had romance novels directed towards the African American person. This is also where the African American author placed all of their books. They had crime, love. There was a whole variety. But I found it kind of silly that they would have their own section rather than shouldn't a book be based on like the theme rather than based on color. So the fact that it was on another shelf kind of blew my mind. The next one was the birthday card. So the birthday cards were the same amount as if it featured a white female on it. It cost about $3.50 for a card. However, for the white person, I did see more like 99-cent cards, and they could they could choose from a variety of 99-cent cards, compared to, for the African American, there was a small variety. They only had like 2 or 3 options, and it was the $3.50 one. So in the end, they would have to buy the more expensive card. Walmart had a small selection. I only found one, and I don't even think it was that funny. I went to CVS, and that's where I saw they had, again, another aisle directed just for a person of color, and the section was also actually called mahogany. And again, they had their own section. It was separate from the other cards, and I just found that very strange. Yet in the mahogany section, they did have numerous cards available, so a person was better off going to CVS rather than Walmart to buy a card of color. Next were the hair products. So in Walmart, they actually have a whole aisle for hair products. And for the African American hair, there was hair dyes, conditioners, oils, lotions. The average cost of hair dye was about $5, which is a little cheaper than hair dye for the white person. The other products like conditioners range from $8 to $10, which I think is similar to the products for a white person. I guess it depends on the name brand. Like when we walk in, I have a specific name brand that I like, and it might be a little bit more expensive, so I feel like that was the same way for the African American person. That's why the prices range, just based on brand and quality. And the last one was the hairdresser. So the hairdresser actually, when I called up to like make an appointment, they did have availabilities, and the hair salon is only like 5 minutes away from my house. There is actually numerous hair salons that is specifically for the African American hair in my area. I live in a predominantly white town. However, directly across the highway is a predominantly Hispanic and African American community. Therefore, that's why I believe I was so successful with entering the Walmart and finding a hairdresser locally, because my surrounding communities are diverse. But back to the hairdresser. So a blow dry at that salon is $30, compared to typically a white salon is $35. An updo is $40, compared to a white person hairdo is $85. To receive color on an African American hair was $50. On the white person, roughly $75. There was also items that just could not be comparable. For example, such as relaxers and weaves. Again, so these prices I found through the local African American hair salon, and then I compared it to my mom's actually a hairdresser, and she told me the prices that her salon distributes. The next question is, assuming that you are as a black, who in the store would you ask for help? So as I entered the store in Walmart, hold on, sorry. Oh, I skipped a question about it being located on the shelves. So the only item that was located outside of the shelves on the center was the Dr. McStuffins. So as I'm walking through the aisles, that was the only product that was visible. All the other products, I would have to actually go in and search for. Therefore, when I walked in, the items that are being highly promoted are directed towards the white customer. The next question, the first store that I entered was Walmart, and this store contained majority of items. And if I encountered a problem, there were male and female African American workers there to assist me. I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but when I was in the beauty aisle, I could quickly look around, and there was a female African American worker. So in the beauty aisle and in like the children's aisle. Then when I went over to the cards where the supplies were and things like that, it just so happened that there was an African American male worker there. So I don't know if they distribute. I've never worked at a store like that, so I don't know if they on purpose distribute the workers like that or not. The next question is that when I was in the section that contained African American hair products, there were several African American females that I could have asked for help. Even though I was receiving very strange looks being in that aisle. In the aisle, one side was African American hair products, the other side was still just general makeup. So every time I turned to look at the African American products, because I wanted to move things around, look at the costs, understand what products were being sold, I felt very uncomfortable because the person next to me was African American, and she was like, what is this girl doing looking at these products? So I quickly had to I would look, I would turn away, I would look, I would turn away. So again, there was people that I could ask for help that were African American, but again, majority of them were white. When I answered CVS and Barnes and Nobles, it was a different story. There were no African American employees to be found, and if I needed specific help on a product, I would have to go ask a white customer, and they honestly probably would not be as knowledgeable on these African American products as an African American worker. So the next question pertains to the manager. When entering the Walmart, I actually knew where the manager's office was, located on the side of the store, and I passed by it. The manager was inside, and I knew it was him just because there was also a picture on the front of his door that had his name underneath it, and he was a white male. The manager of CVS I knew was a white male because I have asked him questions before, and I've spoken to him. He's also very active in the store, so even if I go there, he's typically there to help. But again, he's a white male. The manager of Barnes & Nobles was a white male as well, and I actually asked, when I went up to the register, I asked if I could speak to the manager about a position, and I received an application and threw it out. But at least I was able to see that he also was a white male. The salon, so my mom's a hairdresser, and she said that when she went to get her beauty license, they weren't taught on how to work specifically on ethnic hair. Whether that's the case now or not, I'm not sure, but when she was in beauty school, they weren't taught any specific techniques. So when she does receive an African American client or any client that has, like again, a different type of texture or needs specific products to be put in their hair, she knows the hair salon that I mentioned before, and I think the hair salon's name, Deidre's Salon. So every time a client comes in, she refers them to Deidre's, and Deidre's actually does the same for my mom. So they've been working together like this for a long time, and they said it's pretty successful. So my mom knows the manager, and she is an African American female. The last question, having answered these questions, how do you as a black woman feel? So as a black woman, I felt very overwhelmed at times because either there was a lack of products or there was no products even available, such as the Band-Aids. Therefore, making a one-trip shopping trip turned into multiple trips, scavenger hunt. It's crazy to think that I can go to the store in one trip and get all of my items, where as an African American I had to make 3 trips. And not only was that time consuming, but I was also getting very frustrated, like why aren't all the things that I need located in one store? At CVS, when I asked about the Band-Aids, I was disgusted of the way I was treated. I asked if they had African American Band-Aids, and I got a dirty look from the pharmacist. She had to go ask another pharmacist, and I feel like they were taking me as a joke. But what if I truly needed them? Also, I think their lack of knowledge was also horrible because they had to ask 5 different people. Um, just to get one answer, and I didn't even receive the answer I wanted because I would have to pay a large amount of money for just a couple of Band-Aids compared to the $2.50 that a white person would get. I was impressed by the different books that I found at Walmart for the romance novels and stuff because there was such a large variety. I was also impressed with the different children's dolls because they had from infants to a little bit older. The makeup I was impressed by with the range of color, especially that CoverGirl had a specific beauty line, and also the hair product selection that they had an entire aisle, and just like the white person, we can choose between different brands and things like that. So overall, there was numerous items that I could choose from. However, I was upset that the books had their own sections, the card had their own sections. I felt like when I was going there to pick up a book, like, yes, they had my item, but then I thought, why do they need to be separated? It seemed like hidden segregation. Like, okay, yes, we're selling books, but the African American books are over here. Or, yes, we have your specific card, but the African American cards are here. It was like a subliminal message that we're different, we're still separated. So that brought out feelings of separation between races. And overall, I feel like going shopping and finding these items, this could happen one time a week. I usually go out and purchase something once or 2 times a week. And having to do that every single week and having that reminder that when I'm buying something, I'm still looked at as different. When I want to go buy makeup or, like I said, a book, it's like, okay, we have your items, but you're still separated. And the fact that we're not putting your items on the front of the shelves, it's like as if I'm still second best. So it definitely opened up my eyes to the options and how the majority of products are directed towards the white American. And like I said before, it made me feel as second best. So I think this project was a really good eye-opener, and I really enjoyed it. Also attached, I'm going to attach just some little notes, and I also took pictures of all the items, and I attached the website to the hair salon.